Good evening, and welcome to the Overlook Drive-In. The Overlook Hotel was built over a century ago on an old Native American burial ground. Just recently, we added a beautiful state-of-the-art drive-in screen out back. You don't just get a peaceful, cozy stay at the Overlook, but you get to enjoy one of the finest outdoor cinemas as well. At the Overlook Drive-In, we don't just watch and review major motion picture films. Here, we rank them too. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. My name is Zach. We hope you enjoy your stay. Enjoy the show, and if you will, please follow Mr. Grady to room 237. He will take care of you.
What's going on, everybody? This is, excuse me, this is the Overlook Drive-In. I guess Mr. Grady's trying to kill me already. This is the Overlook Drive-In, episode number 4, the first one live. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is our first crack at doing this. If you've watched the previous 3 episodes, this is a different style show than what we're used to doing, and this is actually going to be different from the first 3 episodes. Not as easy to pull off live. Joining me tonight, he is the host of the Take One podcast and a host here at Fandom Empire. It's Mr. Mike Bish. What's going on, man?
What's going on, dude? Super excited to kind of launch this live and do our first live episode of the Overlook Drive-In, man. Appreciate everybody in the chat tuning in. It's going to be a great show, so make sure you're interactive. And look, man, Shawn, I have to give it to you, man. That was a hell of an intro. I loved it. I loved it. Shout out to Zach as well. I mean, I thought it was phenomenally done. Good job putting that together, dude.
Well, I mean, we're still on air, so Google didn't hate it that much. So that's a plus. That's absolutely a plus. It's exciting to be here and doing this. And we're gonna tell everybody how this works. If you're tuning in for the first time because you didn't watch our pre-produced content, that's fine too. What this is primarily it's a movie review and rank show. So what happens is Mike and I break down these movies into 5 different categories. Story and pacing is 1. Acting is 2. Cinematography is 3. Writing and directing is 4. And sound and score is 5. And we have some other cool segments included in with the episode. And the new one here is with the end of the Fandom Empire show happening, we needed like a half an hour buffer somewhere where we could talk about up-to-date movie news and entertainment news. So we will be doing that off the start of each episode for 20 or 30 minutes. And then we'll be diving into the movie. So I'm really excited to be doing this, Mike. Before we go any further, though, I want to take a moment and say a big thank you to the guys that aren't here right now. Guys like Kieran, guys like Johnny and Jer. Tommy might be in the chat somewhere. I believe Matt Whitfield's in the chat as well. Same with Dean Renner. You're still going to see Kieran on the channel. He's still doing Game of Thrones content with us. We have an episode coming out tomorrow morning that we recorded last night. That's coming. You're still going to see Johnny. He wasn't on this Game of Thrones House of the Empire episode, but I believe he's going to be on the next one. And we're figuring out what's going on with the wrestling content. But hopefully we'll see Jer again. Either way, the contributions are appreciated, and I hope that we can deliver a entertaining product to each and every one of you, the viewers, on a weekly basis. I know I'm a little paranoid here about getting into this and diving into it. Mike, any thoughts before we get started?
Not really, man. Just super excited to again get into this. Channel isn't what it is without everybody's being involved. Shawn, especially you, man, going the extra step to getting all these intros together and the show together, especially for tonight, for the Overlook Drive-In Live. I think everything looks phenomenal. I think people are really going to enjoy it. And again, just appreciate everybody in the comments, to everybody tuning in. It's going to be good, and appreciate to have everybody here along for the ride.
Yeah, no, I'm stoked to talk Halloween 4. It's
I know you are.
there's never a day where I'm not willing to talk Halloween 4. But
So,
before,
real quick, I have
yeah,
to say this. I have to say this though. As soon as I decided I was going to review every Halloween movie for the Take One podcast, the first person I had down was Shawn for Halloween 4. Didn't even know if he could do it. He could have been traveling out of state. He could have been doing anything. He could have been who fucking knows? I just had to pin, not pencil in. I had to pin Sharpie Shawn in for Halloween 4. I felt like if that man was on a plane somewhere, he'd pay for the extra Wi-Fi to do it from his phone if he had to. So I know he's excited for this, and I think it's probably the best one that we could start off for this live show.
the interesting thing is we did a vote last week to see with the live chat what movie we'd be doing. And it was actually Halloween 6, the Curse of Michael Myers producer's cut that won that vote by one vote. But Mike doesn't have that at the moment. So here we are, and we're doing Halloween 4 tonight, which I mean, hey, I don't have any problem with. I'll do Halloween 4 anything. So it absolutely works for me. Dude, there's a lot to get into. Why don't we start with our first segment, which we call coming attractions, which is fitting because the drive-in movies in just a little bit, and the coming attractions is the coming entertainment products in the news cycle right now. All right, it's coming attractions time, dude, and we're starting off with this. Halloween Ends got a new poster today. I did a brief little video on it. They have a new IMAX poster, dude. And here it is. If you want a more in-depth review, it's already on the channel, and that's not very in-depth, might I add. But probably a little more in-depth than we're going to get to in right here. Dude, this far and away for me is my favorite Halloween Ends poster. What did you think of it?
I think it's my favorite Halloween poster out of the three. I still kind of favor the first 2018 one, but man, this I just love the way that it looks. I love the way how the knife is slashing into the A and the orange is splashing up onto the knife and onto Michael's hand. Like it just looks absolutely phenomenal. Michael's mask looks amazing. The hand looks good. Nothing looks out of the ordinary for me. I think it's super well done, and I'm not shocked that IMAX has the best poster for this. I'm really not, and I'm super excited to see this in IMAX. I bought my tickets to see this as soon as I was able to. So excited to experience this in IMAX. But when it comes specifically to this poster, man, I absolutely love it. I think it's easily probably, I wouldn't say easily, but easily my favorite one of the Halloween Ends ones that we've gotten. And then definitely even that Dolby one actually looks pretty good. The regular one for me just doesn't do it. I'm not a fan of that. I really do like the Dolby one now that you have that up on screen. I like the orange to it. I really like that actually. So I think so far, really out of these three, the one that I really just don't like is the first one that we got. But when it comes to this IMAX poster, man, I absolutely love it.
Big shock. Mike likes the poster that includes Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm stunned. No, it's better than the normal one for sure. The Dolby Digital Halloween Kills one was good as well. But man, when I look at these two together, or these three together, it's just so painfully noticeable, at least in my opinion, how much better the Halloween Ends IMAX one is than the other two. Like the other two, I wouldn't have given a thought about purchasing. I just wouldn't have done it. This one here, man, I not only would do it, I absolutely want to do it, assuming it ever becomes available.
I know. I was gonna ask you, have you heard anything? Have you seen anything? Like, is this available at all? It's probably gonna have to be one of those things where we have to try to find some type of if it doesn't become available, it has to be one of those things where we try to find the clearest, biggest pixelated one that we can, the clearest pixelated one that we can get so we can, blow it up. But I have to have, dude, this would look amazing on the wall. Honest, like it looks phenomenal.
I'm going to attempt to pass it off to our old graphics guy that's no longer with us anymore, and he was really good at taking images and blowing them up and keeping the quality. He did my 18 one, he did my Kills one, did my Bo Burnham one. So I'm assuming he can do this one too. So if Nowhere Reasonable comes out with it, I definitely like to tackle this one for sure, man. I absolutely love it. And by the way, unless anybody was wondering, we are going to be super busy during this stream. We have a lot to get to in a short amount of time. These are not going to be 2 to 2.5 hour streams. Mike and I are hoping to keep this to 90 to 100 minutes at most. But we will be doing Q&A still. So Q&A will come right before we get to Halloween 4, and then right after we're done talking Halloween 4, we will go into the chat and pick out some questions to get to. We have chat mods in there right now. Dean, Matt Whitfield. I think Tommy is around and about. He might just be being quiet at the moment. But if you want us to interrupt the topics that we're on, you know what to do. It's the same as it was before, sending a super chat, and we will interrupt our scorecards, which get your scorecards ready. You're going to need them. And we will answer your question or comment as soon as it comes up.
I do want to say this real quick, Shawn. I am not to answer specific questions in the chat, but I did see Jay Ryan say that opening night is sold out for Thursday for a lot, maybe where he is. I have to say, not in IMAX, but the theaters near me are pretty full for that Thursday screening of Halloween Ends. IMAX had a little bit more opening seat wise, so I had no problems getting those tickets. But I'll be honest with you, man, Ends for Thursday near me is pretty jam packed.
I will be that guy and admit that I don't have tickets yet.
There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't. This is my first. Honestly, this is my first year buying advanced tickets, and the only reason I bought them is because I have a movie Regal Pass. So I don't. I pay monthly to go see as many movies as I want. So it was, it's just something that I went ahead and did before. One, I forgot, and two, there was no chance that I was missing. There's no chance that I was missing this opening night. The one that I did have problems with though was Black Panther. That was that was sold out pretty quick for me around here. I had to get tickets for that to a theater that's not the closest to me. So that was the one that I had kind of trouble getting. But
so by the way, if you're watching right now, it looks like there's about 40 of you watching. Take a second, click the like button, leave a comment, let us know how you're doing. Clicking the like button helps other people find the stream. It would be appreciated if you like the content we're putting out. Doesn't cost anything to click the like button, so click that like button, please. Dude, there's other Halloween Ends news, though. If you're impatient and you don't want to wait until October the 13th or October the 14th to see this movie, it turns out you don't have to. We have information on early screenings, and here they are. The early screenings for Halloween Ends. Let me get close to my computer because I'm old and can't read the font. If you're in Boston, October the 11th. That's right, 2 days on a Tuesday. For the city of Troy, it's October the 12th. Valley View is October the 12th. Is it Temp or Tempe? It's 7 p.m. October the 12th. Las Vegas is October the 12th. Kings of Persia is also October the 12th. Most of these are actually, all of them are October the 12th. Also includes New York, San Francisco, Roseville, Seattle, Chicago, Indianapolis, and El Paso. There might be more theaters out there. These are the ones I found listings to. So if you can't wait till the Thursday, check out these theaters. You might be able to grab a ticket to one of these early screenings.
That sucks. I was pissed. Of course, it has to be in all of these are major cities. Like King of Prussia is basically Philly. All of these are major cities, man. So which I figured. I mean, it's just kind of disappointing. I don't live in a major city like this. Like Richmond, Virginia is not considered major compared to like New York City or Boston. So kind of deflating that none of these are near me because I definitely would have pounced on this. But for everybody who gets to enjoy the movie or the film early, if you're in one of these cities, enjoy it. Definitely a treat that they're presenting to us.
Long-time viewer of the channel, Jay Ryan, sends in $2 super chat. Pardon me. Stop hating. Give Ends a chance. Y'all are toxic. I think he's talking to the chat. Maybe he's talking to some of our critiques over Halloween Ends. I'll say this: no matter what the movie is, if you haven't seen it, even if you know what happens in it, if you haven't seen it, if you haven't experienced the score with the sound design and the visuals and the atmosphere, you don't know what you're going to think of the film until you actually see it. You might be able to accept certain events that happen in the film more once you see the finished product fully put together. So I will agree with Jay on this one. I still say go in with low expectations, though. If you go in thinking it's going to be the best Halloween movie ever, and that's where your bar is, you're probably going to leave disappointed. Any thoughts on that, Mike?
No, I totally agree. I agree with Jay as well. And I said this, and I know you've said this multiple times, man. I've learned to really enjoy my theater experience. Again, I'm gonna have my opinions. We're gonna give our opinions. That's what we do. But when I walk into that theater, despite whether I think it's going to be a good movie or not, I'm going in trying to enjoy that experience, because I don't know when the next time is I'm going to get to see Michael Myers on the big screen. I don't know when I'm going to get a fresh Halloween movie. Whether I know everything in it or whether I know nothing at all. Like, I don't know when that next time is going to come. So I'm going to try to enjoy this moment the best that I can. I'll probably see it multiple times. I did the same thing with the Ends in 2018. So I'm a big Halloween guy. So I enjoy these moments, and I try to take that template or that mind frame or mindset to me with every movie that I see. So I would 100% agree with that.
I'm highlighting this one specifically because this is where we were going next with our Halloween Ends talk. The review embargo does not lift until hours before the movie comes out. Not a good sign. Now, I see some content creators trying to spin this positively, saying that they're just trying to keep the film as secretive as possible. I would say that ship has already sailed for a lot of people. 9 times out of 10, and not to rain on Jay's parade in the chat, because whether it's positive or negative, we're just going to be candid. If Fandom Empire offers anything, it's candid fandom. And that is typically when a review embargo does not release until right before the movie comes out, it is a very bad sign, and they don't have confidence in the movie. And I think they've already showed they don't have confidence in the movie with their Peacock decision. So, well, you might enjoy the movie. I certainly hope I do, and I hope Mike does, and everybody else involved in Fandom Empire and that watches Fandom Empire. I think it's a really, really bad sign. Now, is it a chance? It's just because they're trying to keep it secret. Sure, there's a possibility. But if you're dealing with, what's factual most of the time, it's a bad sign, Mike.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would also say, to me, I would say it's a little bit of both as well. Especially if, the way the movie ends, if they keep it the way that we know the way it's going to end, that's, I, I, I would agree with that. I would just say, not going into detail. I don't want to, say anything that it's going to be crazy, but I definitely agree with that. I definitely think that it is both. And Matt did not fall asleep in Kills. He fell asleep in Candyman. And I did get your text, Max or Matt. Sorry, I haven't gotten back to you, dude. It's been a crazy day. I've been up since like 4 a.m. But I already have tickets to Halloween Ends, dude. So my apologies.
Oh, put down.
But if you want to go see it later in the weekend, I'm cool with that. Just let me know.
If you're watching this live or you're watching after the fact, let us know down in the comment section below. Are you excited for Halloween Ends? Are you worried that the review embargo doesn't lift until literally hours before the movie comes out? What did you think of the Halloween Ends IMAX poster? Let us know in the comment section down below. It's time to move along to another horror movie franchise, and that is Scream. And there it is. There's the title of the topic. Heavy rumor is this is the most violent one yet. And literally, I can promise you this. Don't get attached to characters. I don't know if they're going for their best Game of Thrones impression with this movie or what, but do not get attached to characters. Mike and I actually just recorded an episode of the Take One podcast, which you can check out, I'm assuming, relatively in the near future. By the way, you can check that out on Apple Podcast and Spotify, I believe, unless I got that wrong, Mike.
You're good. Thank you, dude. It'll be available Thursday.
So Scream 6, I know you're not the biggest Scream fan, man. I actually liked Scream 5. I thought it was quite good for what it was, although the bar was not high with 3 and 4. So maybe that's not saying much, but this one is apparently the most violent one yet. Although it might upset some people to know, it sounds like they're sort of trying to get away from the tropiness of the other ones. I will wait and see it to believe it, but if they do go this direction, I'm for it.
Yeah. So I am a huge Scream fan. I'm just not the biggest Scream fan of the last movie that was made. I thought it was okay. Like, and part of that probably was my fault, going into it. I remember a lot of people saying that it was, people that I trusted, like it was absolutely phenomenal. People that I follow and we really have these same horror opinions. Like everybody thought that it was just super phenomenal, and I just wasn't on that train. So I didn't hate it. I just thought it was okay, but I'm super excited, to hear this. I definitely think, that it definitely has the potential to be the most violent yet, and I can definitely see the people involved with this film, going that way as well. And again, um, I'd agree with Shawn not staying attached to characters. In the last film, I kind of figured that they were going to kill off a legacy character, and I kind of predicted the one that it was going to be. I'm not going to ruin that for anybody who still hasn't seen the film yet, but I don't see why they wouldn't do that in this film. Like I could definitely see Gale Weathers getting axed. I can see people that survived the last film getting axed, if not most of them. So I don't know, dude. I intrigued by this, and I can definitely see this happening.
Yeah, I've always said that if you give me a less clumsy, knows what he's doing Ghostface, and I would argue that Ghostface in 5 felt that way a little bit, a little more on top of things, that you could give the franchise a different tone, which I think is sorely needed. Well, again, I'll believe it when I see it thing, just because, I think fans have been burned on this before. But I think that you can absolutely guarantee and rest assured that it will be the most violent one yet. I got sent an intriguing list last night, and as I was reading through it, and I have no reason to doubt the list, yeah, it's definitely the most violent Scream movie yet.
Yeah, I thought one of the biggest things that I was intrigued about going into the last Scream movie was people said it was the kills were bloody and violent. I didn't really walk away feeling that way. I definitely thought it was violent, but bloody, I don't know if I agree with that. I definitely think the kills were intriguing. But so I'm going to again wait until I see, kind of like Shawn said. But I definitely think it has the potential based off what we saw in the last one.
All right. Are you guys excited for Scream 6? What direction do you want Scream 6 to go with the franchise? Are you happy with where they're heading after 5? Do you want them to course correct? What are your expectations and wants for Scream 6? Comment down below. Let us know what you think. I know Dean is dying to see Scream 6. He just can't wait to get there. Screw Halloween Ends. He wants Scream 6 all the time. Let's move on, though, to what Mike called in a conversation him and I had earlier. One of the best TV shows ever may in fact be returning, and that is Charlie Hunnam has said that he is in the infancy, the early stages of a Sons of Anarchy revival. I have no idea what that would look like. There's rumors of a sequel. There's rumors of a prequel. There's rumors of them just doing a story set in Sons of Anarchy, the first 7 seasons timeline, and just bringing the characters back for a 1 season limited spinoff. Who knows what comes of this? I can tell you this, though. When Star Power wants to do something and they're dead set on doing it, it often happens if they go about it the right way. Kit Harington did it with Game of Thrones. There's a bunch of other examples. Miguel Sapochnik with Game of Thrones as well. There's a bunch of other examples out there, man. But Sons of Anarchy, how big of a fan were you, Mike? Yeah, I mean, obviously, I guess we kind of know, but would you be for seeing Jax Teller again somehow?
Oh, absolutely, dude. I would assume it would have to be a prequel series or something. Obviously we know how that ends, so I'm not sure that his story is much to tell there.
Do we know how it ends, though? Because they don't flat out say in Mayans that he is dead. And if you remember
I
the
wouldn't know.
story of his dad, his dad gets hit by the transport truck. But then we find out as the seasons go, he didn't die from that. He survived for days in the hospital and then eventually passed. What if he didn't die?
I mean, that is true too. That is true too. Who knows? That's if you don't die from that, though. I mean, that man,
Years
that's
of recovery, if ever.
but no, I'm interested in it, man. It definitely intrigues me. Um, Obviously a huge fan of the show. I was super late to the show, like I am with literally almost every show, honestly. Um, so I remember watching this show, and um, I know the last season was coming up, and I binge watched the entire series up until that last season and watched that last season live, and it was an experience that I won't forget. I will say this though, especially with this show and the way some of these episodes ends on cliffhangers. Um, Shout out to anybody who watched this show live, because being able to end a show the way that some of them did and waiting until the next week to watch it, that's a hell of a feat in itself. So I really enjoyed the show, man. I definitely think it's still in my top 5 for sure. It's top favorite shows of all time. So yeah, man, really looking excited for the opportunity of this being a possibility.
Yeah, again, it's in the early stages, it's in its infancy. If he's just working on it now, on top of still acting, you're looking at something 3, 4, 5 years from now, which kind of makes sense, though. It also makes me wonder if he would, not necessarily return in front of the camera, but do stuff behind the camera. Charlie Hunnam's talked passionately about wanting to do that, and maybe they go tell the story of Abel and Thomas. Maybe they do that. So we'll have to wait and see. Dude, episode 7, House of the Dragons out. We did our review of it last night on House of the Empire. That episode is available tomorrow morning on the channel for all you that want to check it out. Zach, myself, and Kieran did an 80-minute in-depth review of it. Maybe in 2 minutes, man, sum up your non-spoiler thoughts on House of the Dragon episode 7.
I'll start off by
As it
saying
says spoiler warning on top of it. Non-spoiler. Let's keep it non-spoiler.
I will. It'll be non-spoiler. I will say this though. I was very, very worried about how I would like this new Rhaenyra character. And I would have to say those worries are kind of gone from me. Like, I still love Millie Alcock. I still think that she has been my favorite character and really performance so far throughout these episodes. But Shawn, episode 7 of House of the Dragon is, in my opinion, by far the best episode. I think it is 100% my favorite episode. I felt like from the jump of this episode until the end, like I was just intrigued. It went by so fast. I thought the characters in this were phenomenal, and not diving into any detail. But it was funny to see a certain scene that didn't, that involved Damon, but didn't involve Damon. Like Damon was kind of off in the corner, just chilling. I think he's kind of just smiling, knowing that he's not a part of the ruckus that's going on for once. He's just kind of taking a step back, just kind of chilling and enjoying. Like, damn, glad I'm not involved in this. This is something I'm not involved with. So, but I thought it was really good, really intriguing. There was a certain scene where I thought somebody was definitely going to die. That didn't happen. Somebody ended up losing something that rhymes with die. Um, but no, man, I thought it was really good. And I love the way that it ended and the way that they carried that out. And I'm intrigued. Like I figured once we had this time jump, things were just really going to kick off, and things really kicked off in this episode, in episode 7. But I have to say, I am disappointed in the fact that it is already episode 7 and we only have 3 episodes left. Like that is very, very, very disappointing to me. Like I honestly get emotional thinking about it because I am fucking pissed about it. Like it's just come and gone. It's just come and gone. But I've really enjoyed this episode. And honestly, I know you watched it a second time. Outside of the premiere, I haven't watched any of the episodes for a second time. But this will be an episode that I will rewatch probably next Sunday before episode 8 airs. So um, definitely one of those episodes that really sticks out. I know you had very strong words for it. I'm excited to hear House of the Empire tomorrow to see everybody's thoughts here at Fandom Empire. But super excited, super impressed, and I can't wait for these last 3 episodes, even though I don't want them to happen.
Dude, you binge Stranger Things in like a day, maybe 2. You've had House of the Dragon for 7 weeks.
It just sucks. Listen, I'll just say this: like I had high expectations for House of the Dragon based off everything that we knew going into it. But dude, I don't know. It's really, really good. Like I'm trying to find the right words.
It is the best thing on TV today.
It's very, very good, dude. Like I'm running. I'm kind of speechless. I'm trying to find the right words, but that's literally just the best way to put it. It's very, very good. It's phenomenal, and it's just flown by. I mean, it's going to be 10 weeks that we have, this season. It's just disappointing.
It is, but hopefully the wait for season 2 is not too long. Although I'm a little worried about that because I don't even think they started shooting yet. So. We'll have to wait and see. That brings us to Q&A time, where we're going to take about 3 or 4 minutes here and do some rapid fire in the questions, quickly go through, or in the comment section, quickly go through some comments, and then we're going to dive in deep inside Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers. Cannot wait to get to that with all of you. Let's go through the comment section, see what not what everybody's saying, but what some people are saying. Justin Smith says, "Don't blame him for falling asleep during Candyman. That remake sucked." Thoughts, Mike?
I don't think it sucked. I thought it was a solid movie. I think I gave it like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Not phenomenal, didn't suck. I just thought it was a solid film.
Alrighty, I'm just scrolling through the chat here, seeing if anything juicy comes up. Entertainment Wizard says, "I hated what happened to Dewey in the last movie. Big mistake."
First off, I thought his kill was very gruesome. I'm not sure if Dewey was the right person to kill off, because I love that character. Like I love Dewey. Everybody loves Dewey. But then again, if you want to go for that shock factor or something that's really going to rip your heart out, we get after these shows and movies for not killing off main characters or not going for the heartstrings. And I think that one of the things that I liked about the new Scream movie was that they did that. I mean, let's be honest. I hear a lot of people say they hated what happened to Dewey. Well, that's kind of the point. I don't think the point is to like what they did to Dewey. So I don't know if it was a big mistake. Obviously, it's going to suck not having him in these new films. But I mean, they went forward, and that's kind of what we want, I guess, out of these movies. We want them to go for that shock factor, where we know something that movies don't always do. So don't know if I mean, that's kind of really all I have to say, really.
Upon the Ventura says, good, I like hardcore violence in my horror films. I have issues. I'm more of a psychological horror guy, which is why I kind of have an open mind over Halloween Ends. But where do you fall on that scale, Mike? Psychological, hardcore, mix of both.
I would say both. I would say psychological. I mean, I more along the lines of, I guess a good way to describe these my flavor is Mike Flanagan. I know we bring that name up a lot, but that's kind of what I enjoy. You kind of get a little bit of both, a little bit more maybe psychological, but I enjoy both. I knew what I was getting into when I went and saw Halloween Kills. I knew it was going to be bloody, gruesome, and basically a movie is just about Michael Myers going around killing people. So, I guess it all depends on what your taste is, but I kind of enjoy both. There's not, there's, I think The Shining is one of the movies that's not bloody or gory. It's really psychological, and I think that's number 2 on my horror list of favorite horror movies of all time. And then I have a movie like Halloween up there, and although it's not the goriest or bloodiest, it's a slasher film. So I like both.
Jesse says, Jesse, by the way, sponsor at the channel here, says, I want more Kirby screen time or scream time. I got that confused. You got me there, man. I liked Kirby. I thought she was the best part of Scream 4.
Yeah, I agree. I rewatched Scream 4 not too long ago, and it's still pretty bad in my opinion. But I like I like Neve Campbell in that movie, and then Kirby. Probably Kirby is the one that sticks out to me both. Really excited to have her back in this upcoming movie, and I think that she's going to do a phenomenal job.
Keith says Nightmare 2 is my favorite, best look of Freddy. That's a fact. I don't know if 2 is my favorite.
It's not my favorite, but I will say it's up there as far as Freddy, as far as look wise. I definitely think that he does look pretty good. I would have to go with the original as my favorite, and then probably Dream Warriors at number 3. And I enjoyed New Nightmare. I thought it was a different twist. And honestly, Shawn, outside of that, those are really the only 3 Nightmare films that I kind of enjoy.
Steve says Nightmare 2 is underrated for sure. That I would agree with. I do think
I agree. I agree with that as well. People shit on that movie, and although it's not in my top 3, I don't think it's trash by any means.
Absolutely. Anyways, we will have some more Q&A time right at the end of the show. Without further ado, though, it's time to strap yourselves in. We are about to go inside Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers. Get your scorecards ready. Again, just to recap, we have 5 categories that we score things on, and that is story and pacing is number 1, acting's 2, cinematography, is the 3rd one, writing and directing is the 4th one, sound and score is the 5th one. And then we also get to best kill and MVP, and then final scores at the end of this. Thus far, we have done The Shining. We have done I Know What You Did Last Summer, the original, and we have also done Hush by Mike Flanagan. So definitely looking forward to that. Upon the Venture says, Mike Flanagan loved Dr. Sleep. I love Dr. Sleep too. The director's cut is amazing. Absolutely amazing for that.
Can we do that? We need to do that, because I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen director's cut.
So we did The Shining for episode 1, right? My line of thinking is if we did The Shining for episode 1, we should probably do the director's cut for like episode 50.
I'm good with that.
I know that's saving it for a while, but I love that movie. It is legitimately, it might be my favorite horror sequel ever. Yeah, it's way, way, way up there for me. Although you got to be patient. It's a slow burn. It's like 3 hours and 4 minutes long.
It doesn't. To me, it doesn't feel like that though. Maybe it's because I do really enjoy it. But it just doesn't feel like that.
Wait, have you or have you not seen the director's cut?
Not the director's cut.
See, the normal one's like 220. There's like
okay.
minutes added onto it. It's that extensive.
Oh, I would love to see that.
220, but I know that like it's not just like, oh hey, we we threw in 4 extra minutes like another movie we know. No, it's a extended cut. So
I would love to see that.
before we get to Halloween 4, though, I want to take a second to give a shout out to our sponsors of this show. One is Matt Whitfield. He's got a little something coming up soon, but we don't have it ready to preview yet. And the other one is Mr. Jason Nike. You can check out his latest video, a Creep Show movie review, over on the J-Man's Movie Cave. Check it out on YouTube. Head over to Jason's channel and check it out. Click subscribe. Dude puts a ton of passion into his work, and man, every time he has a reaction in his thumbnails, he has so much passion. And I feel like the only time I have that much passion is when I wake up in the morning and I decide that my stomach can handle a bowl of Kellogg's Fruit Loops.
Wasn't expecting that. That Kellogg's Fruit Loops is pretty damn good. That's a.
You ever open the Fruit Loop box? And I mean, you open the bag for the first time, and that smell of the Fruit Loops is like an addiction, man.
No, I agree. You know what? You know what cereal I've grown to really love the older I've gotten? Frosted Flakes.
See, I've gone the other way on Frosted Flakes. I used to love them. Now I'm kind of on Frosted Flakes. Anyways, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, 1988's Halloween 4. All right, Halloween 4 was written by Alan. I'm going to butcher some of these names, so forgive me. Written by Alan B. McElroy, Danny Lispis, Larry Ratner, and Ben Ruffner. Directed by Dwight H. Little, starring Donald Pleasance, Ellie Cornell, Danielle Harris, and Bo Starr. Produced by Paul Freeman. Production by Trancas International. Distributed by Galaxy International. The release date was October 21st, 1988. Runtime was 88 minutes. The budget for this movie was $5 million US. The global box office was $18 million. It was number 1 at the box office for 2 weeks, by the way, which I'm sure most people thought that would never be possible. An interesting fact, though, about its theatrical release, Mike, this movie was only in theaters for 3 weeks, and 2 of them were at number 1.
Damn. I didn't know that. That's very good. That's definitely good information.
Good, but short.
Did they say why it was only in for 3 weeks? I don't know if things worked differently back then, and I don't know. I was young as shit, so I don't know how that stuff works.
I have no doubt that there's probably a reason behind it, but yeah, no, it only spent 3 weeks in the theaters, and 2 of them were at number 1. So like, it's hard to ask for more of a low budget movie than what they did. But what we're going to do now is we're going to get to some facts. So Mike knew there were some facts coming, but he doesn't know what the facts are. So, well, I know what they are. I mean, he might know what some of them are, but we're here for Mike's response to them. And that is, did you know, Mike, that Danielle Harris had her 11th birthday on the set of Halloween 4? That's a pretty cool experience.
Hell yeah, that's cool, and I did not know that. I think that is definitely interesting. I mean, imagine celebrating your birthday on, such a iconic film. I guess, obviously in the moment you don't know that, but I'm sure her experience on the film was phenomenal, and being surrounded by everybody involved, I'm sure that was a great experience for her.
Ellie Cornell's casting. I absolutely love Rachel Carruthers in this movie. I think she was done dirty in H5. But the interesting thing here is she almost wasn't cast in this movie. It turned out that the distributor, let me go back a slide so I don't forget the name, Galaxy International Releasing, was very, very against casting Ellie Cornell in this movie. And it took a lot of convincing to bring her on board. And boy, how much of a takeaway would it be from this movie if they did not have her in it, Mike?
Yeah, it'd be pretty big. I actually knew that. I think I watched something on Halloween 5, actually, and she had mentioned about being casted in Halloween 4 or almost not being casted in this movie. So I heard that, and it would be a punch in the gut. And we'll dive deep into that later on when I talk about Ellie Cornell, but and her performance in this film. But yeah, that would have been a mistake for sure.
Donald Pleasance, speaking of mistakes, Donald Pleasance made a pretty big one, but maybe instead of blaming him, it needs to be, the blame needs to be put on the people that were making the film. It turned out that they did literally an entire night shoot of Donald Pleasance, and he's wearing like this cap on his head. He's literally wearing a hat. There's photos of it on the internet where I think people think it's just rehearsal. No, they legitimately shot him in the hat, and then they were all so tired and exhausted from how quick the shoot had to go that they didn't think to tell him to take the hat off, and they ended up having to reshoot an entire day because of it. So that's a little bit of an embarrassing mistake.
Yeah, I don't know how that shit happens. Like, I have nothing else to say, but how does that happen?
It should. Not even back then. George Wilbur was famous for pranking people on the set. He played Michael Myers, one of the guys anyway that was playing Michael Myers in that movie, and specifically the dream sequence scene with Jamie. Whenever like they were setting up for that and anybody would walk by the bed, he'd just reach out and grab their feet anyway, keeping the set light. That's kind of cool to know that the guy that was behind the mask of Michael Myers was making an attempt to keep the set light.
That's always good to have that guy who makes things fun on set. Especially, I mean, think about it. You know, Danielle Harris is so young. Who knows how she was feeling, as far as I'm sure they had times where, you know, things felt real to her and she was actually scared a little bit. So it's always good to have, you know, people be fun and joke around on set, but especially the guy who played the Shape.
Dean Renner says that had to be the same night they left the pink Myers mask in the school scene. You would assume, right? What a disaster. Although they went back and reshot, so maybe it wasn't the same night because they sure as hell didn't go back and reshoot that scene. But speaking of the masks, did you know that the mold that they ordered for Halloween 4 was actually the Dawn Post Captain Kirk mask? The same one that they used in the original. Except for, I guess the prop guy didn't feel the need to open up the box until they got to set, and there was a bunch of pink masks with blonde hair in the box. Again, to go back to the Donald Pleasance mistake, if you can call it that, I mean, I love this movie, but how the hell do you let mistakes like that happen?
I don't get it, man. I just don't understand. And I love this movie, and people will come to realize that. I don't know, dude. It's just, I don't know how mistakes like that can happen. I don't know how you can throw a fucking CGI mask in H2O. Like, these films that I love, like, I just feel like there's dumb mistakes and decisions that are made, and it just, for what? Why? We'll jump into it. I'm not the biggest fan of the overall mask period in Halloween 4, but it looks a hell of a lot better than what the hell was in that schoolyard or in that school. Like, what? Who thought that was a good idea? Like, what the fuck? Makes no sense. No sense.
And the last fact is the egg face, aka the makeup that Donald Pleasance was wearing. So the story behind that goes around a lot of circles is that, well, he just wasn't happy with it. But it turns out the truth was he didn't even really notice that it was an egg. Apparently, him and his girlfriend were on set, and as I believe it was one of the producers, it might have been Paul Freeman that said this, that him and his girlfriend were a little tipsy because they weren't working at the time. And his girlfriend points out on the monitor, hey, your burning looks like an egg on your face. And from that point on, they would not let it go, and they went in and changed the makeup.
Dude, that's
needless facts, but some fun facts behind the movie.
I'm still laughing at that one.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get your scorecards ready. This is the way that we do our rankings. Is each category has a 10-point value. There's 5 categories. That lets Mike and I's combined value come up to 100. So we start off with story and pacing. Story and pacing, Mike. I'm going to start with this one because this is why I love this movie. This for me, and again, this is simply opinion, it's not fact. You in the audience might feel different about it. Let us know in the comment section below, by the way, what you think of the story of Halloween 4 and how it's paced. Um, the story and pacing for me, the story is as good as you could ask for a follow-up to Halloween 1 and 2 that does not include Laurie Strode, aka Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't see how they could have done something better at that time. But more importantly, I think this is the best paced Halloween movie, period, by a long shot. Whenever you sit down, yeah, it's only 80, pardon me, it's only 88 minutes long. So it's a short movie. But when you sit down and watch this movie, it is over in the blink of an eye. Like it's a constant. Like there's no let's slow down in the middle of it and let things build a bit. No, it starts at the exposition scene, which is a great tool for filling the audience in and how long has passed and where everybody's at this point in time. Um, and the movie's just so incredibly paced. It makes for a fun watch every single time I watch this movie. Your thoughts, man, on the story and pacing?
I enjoyed it. I definitely have to agree with you. Actually, I think in my Halloween ranking, it is the my number one movie that doesn't involve Jamie Lee Curtis in the film. So I definitely agree with that. And we'll jump into the performances a little later. But as far as like story and pacing, you're right. It is over in a blink of an eye. I watched it when I got home today, actually, and it just flew by. And it's one of those movies where certain scenes or certain like topics aren't dragged on for too long because they can't do that because it is so short. And I think it's just intriguing from start to jump. It pulls you in pretty quickly, obviously, especially knowing that this is the first time we see Myers back on the screen since Halloween 2. So that's intriguing in itself. And then it just once it pulls you in those first couple of minutes, they don't this story does not let you go until the very end. I thought it was pretty good, man. I don't think it was, over the moon or anything like that. And we've talked about when it comes to rating these movies, how actually hard it is. You know what I mean? So I think overall, I thought the story and pacing was pretty good.
Dean Renner replied to Entertainment Wizard. The story is the behind the scenes the story in the behind the scenes documentary is they were shooting late at night, and someone went to the production trailer and grabbed the wrong unconverted mask for that scene. Again, though, to go back to the egg face and the wrong mask and the hat. As much as I love this movie, how the hell do you how do you go, you know what? Yeah, I think because it's dark in here that this mask will work for this scene. I remember the first time I seen this, man, which I actually, I do want to stop and talk about that before we move on to another topic. But I remember the first time I seen this movie, I was like, wait, what? What happened to his mask? And I seen this movie for the first time at like 12 or 13 years old. So like, those kind of mistakes are kind of unforgivable.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't. Again, sound like a broken record. I just don't know how stuff like that can happen or decisions like that can be made and be okay with.
What's going on, Matt? Matt says Halloween 4 is a top 5 in the franchise for me. It's much higher than that for me, but I'm glad that you like it as much as you do, man. Dude, I jumped ahead. I knew that was going to happen at some point. What was your first experience like watching Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers?
Really good. I definitely, I've talked about this before. I definitely think that I connected with this movie a lot because when I saw it, I was a kid. Um, and obviously that this movie pretty much revolves around Jamie Lloyd, played by Danielle Harris. So I really connected with this movie a lot. I put myself in her shoes, how I would feel, as a kid, being chased or, having a night like this, or being chased by Michael Myers to shape himself. So, I remember watching this movie. I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head right now if my uncle showed me this movie or if it was one of the movies that I saw on AMC. It is one of the movies that plays on AMC nonstop, especially during this time of the year. I'm pretty sure if I turn my TV on right now, Halloween 4 or 5 is playing right now. But I'll go with seeing my first time seeing this on AMC because that's what when I think of Halloween 4, for some reason, I think of AMC. So I'll say my first time seeing this was on AMC, but I thought my first watch experience was absolutely phenomenal. I would say that this probably out of the first two um Halloween movies, that this was the one that really shook me because I put myself in Jamie Lloyd's shoes. And because in the first two he's not chasing after any kids, but which he's still scary in those movies, don't get me wrong, but especially when it comes to this Halloween 4, I put myself in Jamie's shoes, and it made my experience that much better.
Dean Renner says, imagine we got something close to the original mask and then there was no padding put under the coveralls. Yeah, I'm not as anti-padding, to be honest. That never really bothered me all that much. And the problem with the mask is I think the mask actually looks really cool in some lighting. And then there's other lighting where it just looks dreadfully bad, but still nowhere near as bad as H5's mask, in my opinion. I do think they missed an opportunity, though, even though it wouldn't have been like the masks from Halloween 1, or the mask from Halloween 1 and 2. This look that's on screen right now, I've said it for years. I would have been okay if he just looked like this for the entire film.
See, I can't get behind that.
Oh, you don't bandage mask, huh?
No, like I don't mind it. Like I think that's a really cool shot, but I think it's a cool shot for one scene. Like when I think of Myers, I think of that white mask. So I don't mind the bandage mask, but right there, like I think of Myers with that white original Halloween mask. Like I think Baghead Jason is better than what bandage Michael would be. But that's just my opinion.
See, like this shot, which is from this the dream sequence, I think it looks. I get it; it does not look like the original, but I look at that, and when I was a kid, I was scared of this. I was far more scared of Michael Myers in H4 than I was in H1 or 2.
Agreed. I mean, that's something that I said, agree as well. So I don't know, man. Again, I go back to the startup of this and putting myself in Jamie's shoes and always thinking as a kid, is something under my bed? Is something going to grab me? What is it? And to have, growing up, one of the most terrifying slashers of all time, terrorizing a kid, grabbing her ankle under the bed. I mean, that just fucking shook me as a kid.
Dean also says that right there is the best look of the H4 mask. Yeah, everything in that dream sequence is pretty spot on. It just seemed like something altered with the mask after that, and it wasn't nearly as good as it once was. But yeah, my first experience seeing Halloween 4, I've said it on the channel a bunch of times, but we watched Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 4 all in one night. That's how my cousin introduced them to me. And I wasn't so high on 2. I thought 1 was really good. And then Donald Pleasance at that time is what sold me on 4. Donald Pleasance was amazing. And Michael Myers was terrifying in H4. Let's move on though, man. Sorry, we can't move on. We haven't given our we have not given our scores for story and pacing, and I almost made the boo-boo of showing my overall scores already. Gotta open it at a different window here to see what I had. But for me, I had story and pacing, Mike, at a 9 out of 10. And when we rank these movies, we're not just ranking them as like, oh, hey, we're ranking them as Halloween movies. No, we are ranking them as comparing one movie to any other movie out there in cinema. You'll find that we're doing primarily horror on the Overlook Drive-In. There'll be some that aren't horror, but it'll be mostly horror. But I gave story and pacing for this movie a 9, Mike. What did you give it?
I gave it an 8. I thought it was pretty solid, and I think you've alluded to this in past episodes. 8 is still really good, And the big thing here is remembering that like Shawn said, this isn't just for Halloween movies or Halloween films. Um, it is for overall. So like an 8 is solid overall. Like I look at other movies that I really, really enjoy as far as pacing and stuff like that, or pacing and story, um, that I wouldn't put like story wise, I would give like let's just say like The Dark Knight. I got to give that like a 9.8 or 10, like close to 10. And this I can't give Halloween 4 as much as I enjoy it a 10 or 9.5. A 9 is solid. Like I definitely understand that, but a 10 I can't do it. So I have to go with 8, which is still really good in my opinion.
Yeah, I was really battling. Like I had to sit there for a while. I'm like, is 9 too high? Do I think this is the best story and best pacing in the Halloween franchise? I do. I legitimately do. So I thought to myself, how high
Yeah.
can I go with this compared to, 7 or The Dark Knight or The Batman or The Empire Strikes Back or Nightmare on Elm Street or, The Shining, Doctor Sleep. And you got to take all that into consideration when you're filling out your scorecard on this show. And I ultimately decided on a 9, but it was very close to being an 8.5. What do you, the audience, whether you're in the live chat or you're watching afterwards, give the story and pacing of Halloween 4 out of 10? Comment down below or comment live. I'll quickly read these off here, Mike, because there's a few in the chat. Steve says he'd give it a 10. Melissa would give it a 9. Entertainment Wizard gives it a 9.5. Dean says he's going with an 8 or an 8.5. Steven says he's going with a 9. Ken says Ken divided them up. Stories 9, 10's pacing. So I'm going to give you your answer for you. That's a 9.5. We're going to call it a 9.5. And Justin Smith says a 7.5. Ouch. Ouch, man. I just got low blowed. Bloody hell. Wayne Gottke, 9 on story, 8 on pacing. So that's an 8.5. And NMJ says 7 or 8. Upon the Ventura, 7 or 7.5. I really appreciate everybody getting their scores in. If you're watching after the fact, comment. We will reach out and comment on it. But with that said, story and pacing is in the books. And we are moving on to the acting. So for me, Mike, the acting in this film starts with these two right here. If Danielle Harris and Rachel Carruthers do not have the chemistry that they have on this screen and in this movie, the movie doesn't work and you have no movie. Thoughts?
100% agree. I think that they are absolutely phenomenal in this movie. And they definitely kick the acting up for me as far as score wise. And even when you go into the other characters that you would consider side characters, I thought that they were really solid as well. There's not a character in this movie that I dislike. Is Brady an asshole? Sure, but that's kind of how he's supposed to be written. I thought that he did a really good, the guy playing Brady did a really good job for his character and what it should be. But when I think of Halloween 4, I think of these two that are on screen right here. Danielle Harris and Ellie Cornell did absolutely phenomenal for me. We talked on it. Dr. Loomis in this movie was written really well. And of course, I mean, come on, let's be honest. I mean, when it comes to Dr. Loomis, can't get any better, man. Like I just feel like it's really good. And you'll notice once I get into topics and movies that I really like, I come to a loss for words because there just really aren't words to say that does this justice as far as the acting. I thought the acting was done very, very well, in my opinion.
The acting was tremendous. It starts with these two. Without these two pulling off the performances that they do, the movie does not work. And then Donald Pleasance, maybe I'm alone in this, Mike. Maybe you're not with me on this one. Maybe the audience isn't with me on this one. I don't know. Maybe my bias is going to show through here. But when you take Donald Pleasance's performance in Halloween 1 and in Halloween 2 and you compare it to Halloween 4, for me personally, it's not even close. He's far and away on screen way more in Halloween 4, and the performance is just miles and miles better in Halloween 4 than the first two films, in my opinion. Your thoughts on Donald Pleasance's contribution to Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers?
Phenomenal. I meant to say that, but I couldn't think of Donald Pleasance for whatever reason when I was when I was just going through that. So I just kept saying Dr. Loomis, but yeah, Donald Pleasance absolutely phenomenal in this movie. I don't know, man. From the time that he's on screen to not on screen, I just really, really liked him. I thought that he just did really, really well, man. I mean, again, words just don't do it justice.
His scene when he goes in and speaks with Meeker for the first time, that scene is so compelling and riveting. And I know a lot of people are team bracket, but I'm going to wave my team Meeker flag again because Bo Starr was absolutely phenomenal in this film. And I don't think he gets enough credit for just what he brought to the film. Excuse me. How about you? Are you team Meeker or bracket, man?
Meeker, 100%.
Meeker
I
there?
thought, yeah, Meeker, 100%. No need to go into detail. Meeker.
Touch on in terms of the acting. I can't think of like a single performance in this film that made me go, "Oh, this is not good," and the film would have been a lot better if they weren't in it.
Yeah, me either. That's why I gave it the score that I gave it. Nothing in here that really is just like kind of steers me away from the acting. I thought it was really casted very, very well.
I also want to give a shout out to George Wilbur for a second because we just talked about it on your Take One episode a little. I think it's the popular things to go praise Nick Castle because he's the original, and with a lot of fandom related things, people just tend to gravitate towards the original. But I actually quite like George Wilbur's performance in Halloween 4. It's almost like this Michael Myers meets Terminator, and I really dig it. I think you and I might have the same best kill for this movie, and so I'll save talking about that kill till then. But I don't think Wilbur gets enough credit for how good he was in this movie.
I agree. I definitely think that his portrayal of Michael in here was pretty damn good. I'm not sure why he gets the hate that he gets. Not everybody's going to be Nick Castle, not everybody's going to be James Courtney, but I definitely had no problems or issues with the performance of Michael in this movie. Nothing really that he did was like, shouldn't have done that, or maybe was like, yeah, that's not Michael. I thought that he played the character really well.
I can't not go to the chat on some of this because I wasn't expecting this strong of a response. But Upon the Ventura says Bo Star rules. Melissa says Meeker. Steve says Meeker. Jack says Meeker. Ken says Meeker. J Film says Meeker.
Team Meeker.
Lots of love for Meeker, for sure. That's great. David says the guy who played Ted Hollister in Halloween 4 was terrible.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. I mean, I would have to agree because who the fuck is hiding in a damn butt? Like, what are you doing back there?
That was Ted Hollister.
You said you saw Myers. You dumb son of a bitch.
Oh my god, I absolutely love that. Mike, it's decision time, man, and we do cruise through these. Sometimes we spend more time on one topic than the others, and I can definitely see some coming up here. Acting, dude, what are you giving it out of 10?
A 9. I have to give it a 9 for the reasons that me and you just alluded to. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that was because of the two that you had on the screen. And of course, Donald Pleasance's performance. And then when you go back out of those three performances, and you can throw Wilbur in there as well, but out of the main performances, even the side characters were really good in this movie. People that I didn't have a problem with. So Hell of a police force right there. Look at that. A1 police force.
Oh man. Yeah, it's a 9 for me as well. I can't give it a 10 because I don't think anybody's winning an Academy Award for this movie. But boy, I don't think the acting gets better than what it is in Halloween 4. And it's one of the reasons why I love this movie. The characters, even though the movie moves so fast, just feel more fleshed out than some of the other characters that we meet in some of the other movies. And there's more of them too, which they have to, work around that challenge. So I'm giving it a 9. Mike's giving the acting a 9. The question is, what are you, the audience, giving the acting out of 10, whether you're in the live chat or you're listening or watching afterwards? Comment down below. We would love to know what you guys and gals out there are giving the acting. Upon the Ventura says 9. Steve, 9.5. Ken, 8.5. Wayne's giving it a 10. A 10. A 10. Melissa's giving it an 8. Entertainment Wizard a 9.5. Justin an 8.5.
Noise.
Yeah, what an incredible response there. By the way, I love that you guys are submitting your scores along with us. It definitely adds to it. But that brings us to our next topic, the writing and directing. So the primary writer on Halloween 4 before it finally went to screen was Alan B. McElroy, and it was directed by Dwight H. Little. Mike, where are you in the writing and the directing of this film? Because this is an area where I thought to myself, and I think I might have jumped ahead. I think I got writing and directing mixed up with cinematography. So I'll get my shit down here as soon as I can. Pardon my language, but with the writing and the directing, where are you? Because I couldn't help, I could not overlook some of the mistakes that we were talking about. Even though the hat stuff never made it to screen, I still look at what happened with the mask and go, that can't happen. Plain and simple, that cannot happen. And it kind of hurt my score.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it hurt my score as well, because I think we talked about it, right? The story and the pacing were pretty damn good. So you had that going for you, you had the acting going for you, and now we get to the writing and directing. How does a mistake like that get through? How do you let that happen? It just, I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense for me. And yeah, dude, I'm just not with it. Like, I don't know. You would hope that the people involved were a lot more smarter than that. I hope it comes off as lazy to me, because there's just no way that you make that mistake as far as like you missed it or anything like that. I think it's somebody went out, grabbed the wrong mask, they shot the scene, and for whatever reason they didn't want to go back and reshoot that scene once they realized what it was and what it looked like on screen. Whatever the reason may be, either way, you don't let it get to that point. Like, even before it makes it onto that film or that role or whatever you want to call it, you can see on camera the color of the mask and everything involved. So I don't know, dude. It's just not there.
Yeah, there's definitely some issues in this film, and again with like the mask thing, that's just embarrassing. There's no other way to put it. Doesn't matter what the year is. It's just it's not good, which is unfortunate because I thought that this team put together an incredible follow-up to the first two movies. Like, again, in terms of how they did it, I don't know if you could have done a better film than what they did, but there's just some careless mistakes at times that are not needed and take away from the film a little bit. In terms of the dialogue, though, in the movie, I have absolutely no issue with the dialogue whatsoever. And Donald Pleasance is just like, every time he talks in this movie, him and Meeker, I can't help but just sit there and be like, okay, give me more of them too. Give me more.
Yep. On-screen chemistry between those two are really, really good.
For sure, it helped. I mean, when you think about it, Pleasance, you really had Brackett acting through Loomis in Halloween 1, and you have Meeker acting through Loomis through parts of Halloween 4, but I think Meeker gets a chance to stand on his own a little more than Brackett did in his movie.
Oh yeah, 100%. Definitely agree.
Anything that you want to point out with the writing and the directing? I thought the writing just throughout the whole movie was quite good. And one of the things that I don't think I mentioned enough in the acting portion is how fucking good Danielle Harris is. And I'm not saying that just as some Danielle Harris fanboy. If you watch the making of Halloween 4, they make very clear that they've seen a video of Danielle Harris, and they went way out of their way to make sure that they went and they specifically got her to come and play the part. How incredible was Danielle Harris in this movie? I think she elevates the writing a little bit, even as a child actor. And we actually spoke a little bit about child actors last night on the Empire, which we'll be able to listen to tomorrow. But yeah, no, I thought the writing to me was better than the directing.
I agree 100%. For everything that you just said, Danielle Harris in this movie was absolutely phenomenal. The dialogue was really good. Nothing cringeworthy that we get in some of these films today. So, yeah, pretty good, man. Pretty solid.
I almost got through an episode without doing it, and I did it. Bloody hell. Writing and directing, man. What are you giving it?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I definitely think the mistakes in this movie kind of hurt it and dropped my score a bit. So yeah, 7.5.
I'm giving it an 8. And if we were to divide it up, I'd have like the writing at a 9 and the directing at a 7. And I honestly thought giving the directing a 7 might be a little too high considering some of the unacceptable things that went down with the movie. But that brought my score in at an 8 for writing and directing. The question is, though, what do you, the audience, whether you're live or not, think of the writing and directing? Comment in the chat. Let us know how you feel about it. Matt Whitfield says it was 7 for him. School sequence kills it from a higher score. Writing was terrific. I agree with what Matt's saying there for sure. Melissa says it is a 9. Stephen says it's an 8.5. Jack says writing solid 10, directing 2. Wow. Jack's very kind to this movie. Wayne gives it an 8. Steve says writing is a 10 for me, directing is a 7.5. You can't have that mask show up on screen. I 110% agree with you. Entertainment Wizard gives it a 10 for writing, 9.5 for directing. I thought I was going to get on here and have the audience tell me I'm fucking nuts for being too positive on Halloween 4. And it seems like everybody is being pretty positive. Steve,
They are
0.5. Upon the Ventura, 7.5. Kenny's giving it a 7. Justin Smith gives it a 7. Ken gives the writing a 9 and the directing a 7. There's definitely those scores were a little lower than the last batch we read. NMJ gives the writing an 8, directing a 6. That's probably pretty fair, man.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's just, as much as I love this movie, you got to try to leave the bias out of it, and you see stuff like the mask come up, and it's just it's jarring. Without further ado, though, the cinematography. So everyone talks about how well Halloween 78 is lit and that they love the blue lighting. And when you watch the making of Halloween 4, they emphasized that they weren't trying to necessarily go for a Halloween 78 feel. They wanted the movie to feel like Halloween, the day or the night or the holiday. And I still stand by, there isn't a Halloween movie that feels more like Halloween than Halloween 4. I thought they nailed that aspect for it. What did you think of the look and feel of the cinematography in Halloween 4?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it was pretty good. I don't think there was anything over the moon, obviously, but I definitely think that it is probably one of the best looking Halloween feel type of movies that we have in the franchise. Especially that opening scene, of course, that sequence. I mean, I don't know if there's a better opening, in my opinion, but I definitely think that it feels like Halloween throughout the entire movie. I love the lighting in this movie. There's not a lot for me to sit here and complain about. I thought it was pretty good.
I love that you brought up the opening because the exposition scene, like, I want to take a second just to talk about that
Yeah.
between the crawl at the beginning and the exposition scene. I don't think they could have done a better job of catching audiences up on what has happened before and where we are now. I love the mood of it. It's just it gives you this Halloween vibe, and Alan Howarth really was able to take some liberties with the score that he wasn't able to do prior, and really make it sort of his own. Which is why it's a little more upbeat than the previous two renditions of the score. Uh, Dude, the exposition scene. If you're not into this movie from that scene on, I don't know what to tell you because we start there and we basically go to the dream sequence, and then we get the Loomis at the gas station stuff. Like, I don't know if Halloween 4 could have opened any stronger than it did. It definitely doesn't, necessarily hold up to that same value for the rest of the movie. But boy, did they start off on fire.
No, I agree 100%. And as I said before, I think when we were talking about the overall view or the writing, I can't remember which one, but it drags you in from the first minute to two you're in and doesn't let you go until the end, in my opinion. So I think that they do that's the biggest thing, right? Being able to capture somebody's attention immediately or very, very quickly. And I think Halloween 4 did a great job of that.
Yeah, they had the big task of catching people up on 10 years. 10 years in
Yep.
terms of story time, and that's no easy task whatsoever. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The cinematography on the rooftop scene really makes you feel like even you, the viewer, could fall off the roof, and the way they shot that
Yeah.
is very compelling. And I think that even before you see Michael get up there on that roof, you're nervous for Jamie and Rachel before he's even up there. So then once he is up there, it's just sort of maddening. What were your thoughts on the rooftop scene?
I thought it was done really, really well. I had to give a shout out to Michael being able to stand and walk the way that he did on that roof. You can kind of tell his legs looked a little tense walking on that roof, but rightfully so. I thought it was done really, really well, and um, I thought that whole sequence, as far as Michael chasing those two, was done phenomenally well.
Totally agree. What do you give the sorry, I'd be I gotta mention this one. The end of the movie where the mask goes on the camera and we do basically another panning shot where we're following along through the eyes of the killer. The first time you saw that movie, what were you thinking during that scene, and how do you think it was shot?
I thought it was shot phenomenally well, and I was very intrigued by it. Again, it's funny because we once when you really sit back and you dive into the movie and you dive into the scenes, like especially with the Overlook Drive-In, it's just done so phenomenally well. You want to, it's hard not to give it the best of scores, right? But no, I was really intrigued by it, and definitely think it's probably one of my favorite scenes, to be honest with you.
It was a very daring ending to take, and I think the way that they shot it was very good. But I
Mhm.
don't think I ever believed that it was, even the first time I saw the movie. I don't think I thought, "Oh, hey, Michael Myers is back there." It just didn't feel like Michael Myers. I think that's what they were going for with that. And also, I mean, that scene leads to this lovely little clip. Any excuse I can make to play that, I will. What are you giving the cinematography of this movie out of 10?
I'm giving it an 8, man. I thought it was done really, really well. And I have really no complaints about it. Again, got to stress and keep in mind that 8, that's my score for overall movies, period. So it doesn't have the cinematography as of I keep referring to it, but The Dark Knight, no, it doesn't, which would be very, very high for me. So I have to go with a solid 8.
Jack says, like I said, this movie grabs you by the short and curlies and doesn't let you go until the end credits start to roll. That's an incredible way of putting that, man. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm giving it an 8.5. I'm gonna one up you a bit here, man, or half up you, and give it an 8.5. There's some scenes that I don't think are lit the best, or else this movie could easily be much higher than an 8.5. So 8.5 for me on the cinematography, 8 for Mike. What do you guys give the cinematography out of 10? Let us know in the chat. Justin is saying that it is a 8.5 for him, 9 for Steve, 9 for Jesse, 9 for NMJ, 9 for Wayne. Apparently, they think we're being too critical of this. Really appreciate everybody's input in the chat. That leads us to our final topic on the scorecard, anyways, and that is sound and score. The sound of Halloween 4 is definitely the most uptick of the Halloween themes throughout the first 4 movies. I thought Halloween 3, The Season of the Witch, was the first movie to sort of push the envelope a little bit and start to, up the beat a little bit more than what we were used to in the first 2 movies. And then 4 just takes that and kicks it into overdrive. I love the main theme in 4. I love that it plays during the exposition scene. Or at the end of the exposition scene as they're transporting Michael. And the sound design in the movie, though, is absolutely fantastic. Like for an older, low budget horror movie, the sound design in this thing is very good. It becomes very noticeable at times during the movie, especially a lot of the scenes that's featuring Danielle Harris as Jamie in it. I don't think they could have asked for. I'm not saying it's the best sound design and score ever, but in terms of what they had to work with, I thought they got just about as much out of it as they possibly could.
Again, I don't have too many complaints with it. I don't think anything was over the moon or anything that's going to knock me off my feet. I thought they did okay with it. I thought it was pretty solid. I have no complaints with it at all. I would agree that outside of Halloween 3 was the one that they really took that step for. But I'd agree with you. I mean, Halloween 4, they definitely kind of tried to go outside. I wouldn't say outside the box, but they really pushed that envelope. And I really have no complaints, man. I thought it was done really well for sure.
Dean is given the cinematography a 9.5, by the way. So he's way up there. I didn't think he'd be that high up there. So interesting. I thought that for again, we're reviewing this as a movie in itself, but for the franchise, it was a revolutionary change to what they had done with the score in the previous movies, and it allowed them to open that envelope for better or worse in future movies. And in the following installment, at least in my opinion, far worse. And sometimes too much freedom is not the best of choices. Another part, like in the sound design, when Michael's tossing the guys off the monster,
Oh yeah,
the truck at the end, it's so well done, and like it sounds painful.
it does. It really does. Like this, even the stabs to the gut. I mean, it is pretty good.
No, it's fantastic. I can't comment what I want to comment on the on the sound design because it has to do with the best kill that I'm trying to save here because it's one hell of a thing to get to. But it really is good. It's probably my second or third favorite Halloween score. I actually like the new scores a lot.
Me too.
Carpenter does a fantastic job with them. So right now I probably have H4 as probably third place, just in front of H3, just behind 18 in kills.
I have no idea where I would rank that. I have no idea where I would put it, honestly.
What do you give the sound and score though out of 10, man?
I would give it a 7.5. Again, nothing. I thought it was okay. So
I was looking for my wah wah wah, but I couldn't find it. I'm giving it a 9, dude. I am that high. A 9 on the sound design and the score for this movie. Maybe my bias is showing a little bit here. I can't help it. I don't just love the movie because it's a movie I love. I legitimately think it is the best Halloween movie that has ever been made. That includes the original 2, H2O, the new ones. That's just where I'm at. Maybe one day that'll change and maybe a new movie will change that, but at the moment it hasn't. So Mike's giving it a 7.5. I'm giving it a 9. Question is, what do you, the audience, give the sound design and the score of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers? Comment down in the chat. We would love to know what you think. We have 7.5 for Justin, 8.5 for Wayne, 9 for Josh, 9 for Steve, 7 for Melissa, 10 for the Entertainment Wizard. Ken has a 9.5 and a 7 for 7 overall for NMJ Films. Do us a favor. If you haven't been doing it this episode, that's fine. But as you're going along with us scoring all the movies that we're going to be doing here on this show, maybe keep a piece of paper beside you or your phone and remember what score you gave all 5 categories so you can figure out what the percentage is that you give this film at the end and compare it to our own percent. So if you remember what you did, maybe start doing that now because we're going to be coming up to the final score here not too long from now. But before we do, we have to talk about the best kill in Halloween 4. All right, Mike, what is it? Give it to us, man. What's the best kill and why in this movie?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Do we even need to talk about this? I will say there's some really good kills in here. So I understand a lot of people like to bring up the shotgun impalement on the wall, very good kill as well. But I have to go Brady. There's no doubt about it. I mean, first of all, the fact that he has plenty of time to put some bullets in Michael, right? Plenty of time, but of course the gun isn't loaded, so he has to load it up. And by the time Michael walks up the steps, he just grabs Brady, and then Brady hits him, and then hits him again, and then Michael and it just right to the face. And the way that he takes the gun and just drops it over the awning or whatever you want to call it, it's like, okay, Michael's about to fuck him up, and then he grabs him by the face. And this is where your sound comes into play, Shawn. When he's grabbing him by the face and he's crushing his face, and you can, the thumb again. Michael and his thumb placement in this movie, fucking on point. Right into the cheek. You hear his skull and his face just crushing. I mean, I think it's easily, in my opinion, the best kill. I don't think there's. Honestly, I did an article for Collider ranking my top kill. This is before kills came out. Kills in the Halloween franchise, and I believe that was top 5 for me. So yeah, shout out to Bucky. Sorry, that was a hell of a way to go out.
Don't you try that Halloween shit with
shit
me.
On me. And don't you even think about leaving.
And then he looks behind him twice and kind of like rushing off. He goes about it slowly and paranoid, and then he paid for it.
Couldn't chew his gum any harder either.
Poor Bucky. Oh, we should have had a memorial for Bucky tonight. That would have been fitting for Halloween 4. A memorial for Bucky.
Brady. I want to say this to Brady's defense, though. Brady had a hell of a choice to 2 hell of women to choose from. Like, come on now. Like, everybody gives Brady shit, but he got bailed on. Yeah, I mean, you can't. I'm not gonna say anything else.
I'll leave it at this. And I'm probably already going down a slippery slope. Never condone cheating. Not cool.
Oh, not at all. Were they
But
dating or together? Is that?
it's kind of hard to tell. It feels like it a bit, but maybe it's not serious.
I don't know.
Um,
If they're dating, I understand, but I just never. I don't think they were actually dating.
Steve echoes my sentiments. Brady picked the right one.
Give me your reasons. I'm sure it's 2, right?
No, actually, there's more than that. It goes further than that, to be honest.
Yeah, agree. No, I was talking to Steve, but I agree.
It might be 2. I don't know. Hey, if that's what he's into, good for you, man. The sound design during the Brady kill, the crunching, is so fucking good. It makes you cringe. You're not cringing because you're seeing him, get his skull caved in, basically. You're cringing at the sound. It's the sound that gets you. It's not the visual. It's absolutely the sound. But also, how about Michael Myers with his big dick moment where he could have done whatever the hell he wanted with that shotgun? And he's just like, no, I don't need this. I'm just going to throw it downstairs and finish you off like this. Like, that to me is just,
Dude.
There was no real reason to do that other than, hey, I don't need this. I'm good.
Pretty much. It was definitely one of those moments. And he was probably like, I already had a kill with the shotgun tonight. Let me switch things up a little bit.
Did you know that Tom Brady is actually named after the... No, I'm kidding. I'm sure he's not old enough either for that. So no, he's not old enough now that I think about it. So it is what it is. But yeah, that was my my best kill. What was everybody else's best kill or favorite kill in Halloween 4? Comment quickly in the comment section, and we will take a look back at it after we talk about who the MVP, the best performance is in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. All right, Mike, I'm going to let you hit lead off again, man. Who are you giving the best performance to? For me, it's got to be one of 2.
What do you mean by that?
Well, to me, it's either Danielle Harris or Donald Pleasance. I don't see how it's as much as I like Ellie Cornell or Rachel Carruthers, Ellie Cornell and Bo Starr. It comes down to Danielle Harris and Donald Pleasance for me. The question is, which one are you going with? Unless it's neither, and you're going to surprise us here.
See, mine was, I love Donald Pleasance, but mine was between Danielle Harris and Ellie Cornell. I know that might sound crazy to some people, but I don't know, man. And I just absolutely love what, Ellie Cornell's performance as Rachel in this movie. Like, it was really, really good. Like, it was just phenomenal. But when I sat back and I really thought about it, I was like, when I think of Halloween 4, what do I think about? And I think about Danielle Harris, and I think about her performance in here. One, as a young child. 2, everything that she put on screen was absolutely phenomenal. And it's hard to go against Danielle Harris in this situation. I thought that she was the true MVP and the best one in this film. And again, it goes back to, seriously, when anybody brings up Halloween 4, the first thing that pops in my head is Danielle Harris and her absolute great performance in this movie. And I think when you mention a movie and whatever the first thing that pops into your head is, especially when it's an actor or actress, it just goes to show the performance that she had. And to Matt's point, she carried this movie as the lead role, in my opinion. And, I thought it was phenomenal. So it's hard to go against Danielle Harris, although I did have to think about it for a few minutes. But once I thought about it, it was really no competition, in my opinion.
Man, I love Donald Pleasance as Loomis. He's probably my favorite horror movie character ever. He's so fucking good. but I don't see how anybody chooses against Danielle Harris in this movie. And honestly, knowing what she I mean, I guess she gets to do quite a bit afterwards in the franchise, but with this character, she doesn't get to do a whole lot more. She's not given much to work with in H5, in my opinion. And it's unfortunate that they didn't capitalize on this. We spoke on House of the Empire last night, man, about how whenever you're casting a child actor in any form of entertainment, you are taking a massive risk, whether it's one of them or a group of them.
Yeah.
You look at, for example, let me take things to Star Wars for a second, and poor Jake Lloyd, the criticism that he went through for his performance as Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace. Fandoms are toxic. They can be. Every fandom has their toxic fans, as people were talking about in the chat earlier. But I don't know if it's just today's generation. People like to blame it on today's generation. And there was bullying going on of child actors so long ago for so long. And it was intense too. The problem was it's not as intense as it is today because you don't have social media to magnify everything. You look at what Game of Thrones House of the Dragon has done with their cast and introducing the kids. They can all act. They're all great. I've not seen Stranger Things, but the one thing I constantly hear about Stranger Things is the performers when they were younger in the earlier seasons are all believable and all very good. And that's the gambit you run, though, when you cast a child actor. It can either go really, really good or it could go horrifically. Very rare does it end up somewhere in between those two.
Yeah, I agree. And it was a big risk for them to take. So paid off in a big way because she was phenomenal.
Absolutely. I'm going to go back to the chat here and just take a look at what people said. Matt says Brady. Justin says Brady. Wingaki says Brady. Kenny says Brady. Brady for Jesse. MVP's Donald Pleasance, aka Donald Pleasance for Steve. Jesse says Donald Pleasance. Melissa says she liked Rachel the best at age 4. I'm not going to argue with that. Ellie Cornell was amazing. And I get a lot of heat for saying this, but I think Ellie Cornell is better in H4 than JB Lee Curtis is in H1. I'm assuming Mike doesn't agree with me on that one, but I also think Ellie Cornell arguably gets more to work with dialogue-wise.
I would agree with that as well. I don't agree with your statement, but I agree with Ellie Cornell. But I will tell you, Shawn, it's a lot closer for me than you probably think it would be. That's how much I think of Ellie's performance in this film.
Our boy Dean says Danielle Harris takes the cake. What kind of cake is it, man?
That's big.
Could go for a slice of carrot cake right now.
Carrot cake is actually pretty damn good.
I dig it. And I know people that say it's not cake. It's cake to me, damn it.
Me too. Fuck off.
Dean says toxic fans in horror? No. Oh, man. Meanwhile, Dean, every time he hears someone talk about Scream.
Shout out to Dean. I'm going to see Scream 2 in theaters this Sunday for the 25th anniversary. Super excited about that.
Man, I didn't know that was a thing. I'm going to have to see if that's available up here.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You like Scream 2. Yeah,
it's my favorite Scream movie. It is. So I'd totally go see that in theaters. My guess is it's not available up here, though. So that's where we are with that. Let's hope I don't lose my spot here. Here's our scorecards, ladies and gentlemen. What are your scorecards? Have you been adding up your totals? Do you have them available? Get ready to post your overall score if you can have a calculator to figure out your percentage. But I had story and pacing at 9. Mike had it at an 8. I had acting at 9. Mike had it at a 9. Cinematography, 8.5 for me and an 8 for Mike. Writing and directing was an 8 for me and a 7.5 for Mike. Sound and score was a 9 for me and a 7.5 for Mike. That brings our category scores in total up to story and pacing was 85%, acting was 90%, cinematography was 82.5%, writing and directing was 77.5%, and sound and score was 82%, bringing the overall score for the Overlook Drive-In. And we will be keeping track of all of our scores, by the way, and posting them on social media. The score for the Overlook Drive-In on Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, is 83.5%. I'm going to admit, Mike, it's a little lower than I thought it was going to end up, and I'm holding you responsible.
I mean, I am responsible. I still think that's pretty good. I mean, what is that, Shawn? Off the top of my head, is that our highest second ranked film so far?
Man, I'd have to go back and look, but I think it's number 2.
I think it's number 2. Obviously, The Shining
Not The Shining.
yeah. It's not gonna pass The Shining, but I'm pretty sure the other ones that we did were kind of in the 70s, I think, which we agreed the 70s were still pretty solid, really good. But 83.5 is, you got to think overall movie, not just Halloween films. 83.5 is really, really good.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. Makes me wonder a little bit if a Halloween movie is going to beat this, because I thought maybe your score was going to be a little bit higher, and H4 would have had a shot at number 1. But I'm pretty confident, because I still really like other Halloween movies, and I know you do too, that this score is going to get beat by some Halloween movies. But hey, that's what this is about. Candid fandom, people. Try to leave the bias out of it and judge it for how it is on its own. I know it's hard to do. I'm guilty of it a lot. But candid fandom, and it has Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, at 83.5%. Mike, final thoughts, man, on Halloween 4 and episode 4 of the Overlook Drive-In live.
Yeah, I thought the show went really, really well. Again, Halloween 4 was just a movie that I really enjoy. I think off the top of my head, it's the third ranked film in the franchise for me. Halloween, the original, Halloween 2, and then Halloween 4 are my top 3. I really enjoy this film. I think it's really, really good. I would say for me personally, outside of the original H2O, I'm a H2O guy. Halloween 4 is probably one of the most rewatchable films for me. And I think, again, it goes back to the acting and the story and pacing for me are the two that really stick out, which happens to be our 2 highest scores. So it makes sense. So yeah, man, I appreciate everybody tuning in and going live with us. I thought the show went really well. And I appreciate everybody's involvement as well, being active in the chat. That was really, really cool to see. So I thought it went really well, dude.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fantastic. If you guys enjoyed this episode of the Overlook Drive-In and you're excited to have this as your Tuesday night show going forward, by the way, it won't always just be Mike and I. Probably half the time is going to be Mike and I, and then the other half of the time we'll bring in a special guest if it's a movie that they really like. So stay tuned. A lot of them will be faces you've already seen around the channel and members of the channel, and some of them won't be. But if you enjoyed this episode of the Overlook Drive-In live, let us know in the comment section down below. If you think there's anything we can improve on, feel free to comment down below. We would love to hear your thoughts and input. This was a big change for us. This was a ton of work to get ready for tonight. I think it went off well. Apologize. The news section ran a little bit long, and we were also explaining what the show was about at the beginning too. These will be closer to 90 to 100 minutes going forward. And when we wrap up a little earlier, obviously not tonight, but when we wrap up a little earlier, we'll get more Q&A time in at the end of the show. But again, if you want your thoughts read on air, you can always support the channel by sending in a super chat, or you can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/fandomempire. Join today, because that is the way. We have an episode of the Lambkin Lane podcast, or show rather, not podcast, going up on Patreon tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. It's not live, but it's a little 15-20 minute episode of Halloween Ends thoughts, and also there might be a studio in the lead for the Halloween franchise and where it's going next. And if you don't like what direction the Scream fans have gone, or Scream franchise has gone, maybe you won't like the direction Halloween goes, to give you a peek behind the curtain at the studio that seems to be putting the most pressure on getting the rights. Although my money, despite those rumors, is still on a streaming service. check out Lambkin Lane for more on that. And also check out House of the Empire. Episode 7 review is up tomorrow morning. We would greatly appreciate the support. Go give it a listen. 80 minutes of Westeros fun. And Moose Too Far Star Wars podcast also comes out tomorrow morning. So be on the lookout for that. We review episode 4 of Andor. Mike, where can everybody find you at away from here, sir?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at @MichaelBish_ and on Instagram at @MBish_. Take One Podcast is doing well. Make sure you give us a follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Me and Shawn just recorded the Halloween 2018 episode, which will be released on Thursday. If you want to head over to Take One Podcast now, I just have a recent interview with writer and director of the new Pennywise documentary, John Campopiano, which was really, really good. So head over there, check that out. And yeah, man, appreciate everybody tuning in.
Absolutely. And sorry, did you mention your NASCAR podcast? I don't have an image of it. So I can't pull it up.
You're good.
Maybe give it a plug.
Yeah, NASCAR podcast is well available on Spotify and Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, I should say. The 4 Wide podcast, make sure you tune into that. That's usually released every Thursday. And yeah, man, it's going good.
And I've been keeping this one on the down low a little bit, but I too have a NASCAR podcast that has no involvement whatsoever with Fandom Empire. It's a fun little side project that I'm passionate about, and my co-host Ryan and I have a podcast dedicated to half colleague racing, half just NASCAR in general. And we're actually going to be doing a crossover episode just about all things NASCAR coming up with the 4 Wide podcast. So if you're into NASCAR, check it out, the Trophy Hunters podcast over on YouTube. And you can also find us on Twitter at Colleague Racing Pod. Again, Mike, thanks for doing this, man. It was a ton of fun. Big thanks to the chat mods tonight. Dean Renner, Matt Whitfield, Jason Nike, you guys are absolutely wonderful. I enjoyed talking Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers. And actually, for shits and giggles, let's have some fun with this. The last comment that shows on air before we go off will be the Halloween movie we review next week. Any Halloween movie of your choice that you want us to do next week, because the chat was fucking booming tonight. Comment in the chat right now what Halloween movie, anyone, not Halloween 4 again, obviously. Which one do you want us to review next week? Let us know down below. And again, appreciate you doing this, Mike. It was a ton of fun. Doing Take One. And that's going to do it, folks. So have a great night. Again, if you want to support the channel on another level, you can do so on Patreon. Non-financial ways to support the channel. Click the like button. Leave a comment. I hope you enjoyed the program. Mike and I put a lot of work into it, and we really do appreciate it. But until next time, that's going to do it. And don't forget, the boogeyman is in fact